Alrighty, what is going on everybody? Welcome back to the video, and in this video we're going to be going over the top 10 most uncontested drop spots on the map. Now this is a very important video because if you're someone who's a passive playing team, then finding a drop that is uncontested will really help you to get those crucial placement points so you can qualify to the next round. The 10th best uncontested drop on the entire map has to be Logjam Junction, which is located on the north side of the map. Logjam has 31 chests spread out the entire POI, with 81 floor loot spawns, 40 ammo boxes, 2 weapon vending machines, 1 cooler, and 9 nom boxes. This POI does have a fair amount of loot, with a good amount of chests and a good amount of floor loot spawns, so this may attract some players, which is why it's ranked at number 10. Now the biggest downfall of this POI is the fact that it has basically no metal at all. If you farm all of the metal in this POI, you get about 50 to 150 metal depending on the spawns from the chests and just the normal stuff with hidden these little carts and the lanterns around here. But hidden the lanterns aren't really that realistic, so you really don't get any metal from this drop at all. So that means that the Logjam teams will need to find their metal somewhere else. Now you can farm up some metal over here at Crackshot's cabin, but most of your metal is going to be farmed at this bridge here. So what this means is that if you're a team that lands at Logjam, you need to wrap up your looting and your fighting super quickly so you can be one of the first teams to make it to this bridge. Then once you're at the bridge, one player will base up in the tower right here or anywhere on this bridge, and the other will farm all the metal. So ideally the guy that goes up has the sniper, he's looking around for Surge, and the other guy is farming the metal but doing it while protected and not getting shot back. Moving on to the 9th spot, we have Sleepy Sounds. Sleepy has 20 chest spawns, 52 floor loot spawns, 33 ammo boxes, 2 weapon vending machines, 1 healing machine, 9 slurp barrels, and 10 nom boxes. Now compared to Logjam, Sleepy has significantly less loot. It has less chest spawns, floor loot spawns, ammo boxes, and overall it just seems like it's not that good of a POI compared to Logjam. Now the biggest difference is that Sleepy has a lot of natural forms of healing. Most of the slurp barrels are found over here, and conveniently enough most of the noms are also found over here. So what that means is that you can save the chugs, the bigs, the minis, and the kegs that you do find out of the 20 chests you have. You can save them for later on in the game and just use the barrels and the noms to actually get your HP all the way up to 100. Now unlike Logjam, Sleepy does have a lot of metal within it. It has the gas station over here, it has the metal all inside these buildings, the fences, there's some RVs back here, some trucks over here, and then more RVs over here. It also has a fair amount of extra loot that you can find while you're rotating the zone. Most of the zones will probably pull somewhere over here, so you can probably end up hitting these 2 shacks over here. There's a chest spawn here, and maybe even end up hitting these as well if you do need the extra loot. Now, Sleepy isn't that good of a POI, and it has been around for a while. So the teams that are landing here have been landing here for a long time. So if you are a new team, I would recommend finding a pro player on your region that lands at this spot and learn exactly what they do. Learn how they loot it, learn where they rotate to, and learn where they fight, where they contest, everything that goes along with it. Now on another note, Sleepy is here. We have North Sleepy, which is this coral castle type spot over here. This spot is shit. There's no metal here, the chests are bad, and the ammo boxes and everything is bad. So if a team lands here and you guys pull zone, this is a very likely push that you can do if you're confident in it. You have all the options. You can go for a far left flank, far right flank. You can go all the way around and flank from the beach, which they'll never expect. There's basically no metal here at all. Now what you do have to be careful for is if you pull zone, or even if you don't, this team should know that they have no metal here and they are down on loot. So their best chance of winning this game is to surprise the team that does land Sleepy. So they might key over really quickly, so if you have a team or a player on this side of the map, you kind of want them to be careful. Anyway, I kind of went off on a little tangent here, so let's get into number 8. In 8th, we have the Fungi Farm split. This split was popular last season due to grapple gloves spawning nearby. However, now with the removal of grapple gloves, the teams that like to alpha a meta mechanic have moved on to other locations that have a vault. So, Fungi Farm has 21 chest spawns, 39 floor loot spawns, 15 ammo boxes, 7 slurp barrels, 2 non-boxes, and most importantly, 9 bouncy mushrooms. Like Sleepy, the loot here in itself is pretty lackluster. However, Fungi Farm is also bailed out in terms of poor loot due to its increase in natural shielding. The slurp barrels plus bounty mushrooms means that all the heals can be saved for the game rather than the initial shielding process. Coming in 7th place, we have the RV split. This is a very unique split that only really showed an appearance this season due to the addition of the vaults. This split takes place in Chonkers and capitalizes on the idea that Chonkers itself will probably be contested. So the idea is that we have one team land here, one team land here, maybe even 2 teams. Chonkers is a very contested spot. Booga lands here and everyone knows it, so everyone wants to land where Booga lands. Now, it's kind of split down the middle here and even more split here with these 2 buildings. So in theory, it is possible for a team to only land right here, loot all of this, and then leave to get more loot. So ideally, you would loot all of this, run back here, and you loot all of this together, swim or sprint all the way over to the vault, hit the vault, and then rift out. But now let's look at what this split actually has to offer. So within the RV split, there are 26 chest spawns, a vault, 60 floor loot spawns, 18 ammo boxes, 7 slurp barrels, 7 non-boxes, and 9 coolers. So the coolers are the biggest thing. You won't be able to get all the coolers because some of them are positioned pretty poorly and you can easily get shot at from the Chonkers team, but you'll be able to get most of them. Now the coolers are really important, but the non-boxes aren't compared to Sleepy and the POI before this, Fungi Farm. That's because the non-boxes kind of take too much time to heal. You want to loot this part as fast as possible and then take your time over here on this side, because this is the danger zone right here. If you stay here for too long, the Chonker fight might be ended pretty quickly and they might key over. Now the greatest issue with this split is if Chonkers is uncontested. Oftentimes the Chonkers teams expect a fight, so if they're uncontested they might go, okay, let's loot up quickly and key the team that landed over here at RVs. So what you have to do is have at least one player every single game that is in charge of keeping an eye on the Chonkers team. So maybe one player hard farms a lot of materials and the other one only loots like up here, the one loots down here, and he just keeps an eye out on stairs for the Chonkers team. If there's any type of aggression, he pushes them back or he tells his teammate and they rotate out right away. Another concern is that a team might land at the vault or at this building back here, and that will cause a lot of issues if you do decide to do this split, because what happens if you're running back here, there's a team already back here. First off, they're going to have way less loot than you will, so you can take this fight and there's a good chance you are going to win the fight. Now the downside of that is that if Chonkers is here, and remember this team expects a fight, and they hear fighting behind them, they know that Chonkers has the most loot compared to either of the teams, so they're probably going to go back and key this fight. So now you're going to get third party and you'll probably end up going down to the Chonkers team. Now if you do get 2 keys, or 1 key I think it is, because this is a 1 key vault, out of here, you can skip this entirely, go directly over here and then rift back over here, or even rift farther and maybe try to take this vault from Chonkers. That is up to you. But anyway, this is the 7th one and we'll be moving on to number 6. In 6th, we have Neo Butter Barn. This location has been awful for most of Chapter 3, with it being at its peak right now. Because of that, many teams looking for a drop don't even bother looking at Butter Barn. The entire Butter Barn split has 26 chests, 104 floor loot spawns, 24 ammo boxes, and 5 non-boxes. The low chest spawns are directly countered by the high amount of floor loot. Unlike other POIs and splits in this list, the metal at Butter Barn is quite good. You can farm the sides all the way around here and the black sides here, and then there's a bunch of spawns over here. You can farm this ice cream truck and stuff along here, but you also get these 2 splits back here, these 2 locations. You get to loot all of this, which doesn't really have any metal, and you get to loot back here, which has no metal, but does have some fishing holes that you can hit. Now, oftentimes from my loot path or my drop, which you'll see later on, I run through this area here or fly over it or land at it, and it's never really looted, like almost ever. And I think that's just because everyone just thinks it's shit because it's always has been shit. And while it is pretty shit in terms of chests, it does have a lot of floor loot spawns, and contesting it won't be that difficult. You'll just have to claim the left or the right side. I'm pretty sure there is floor spawns up here, so you probably want to land here and maybe have your teammate land over there, and then you guys meet up and work your way down. For the 5th best drop that will probably be uncontested, we have Dusty Depot. There isn't much to say about here. It would rank a lot higher on the list if there wasn't a vault right here, but because there is one, there is a good chance that it will probably be contested. So within Dusty Depot, we have 23 chest spawns, 44 floor loot spawns, 6 ammo boxes, a geyser right over here for natural rotation, and 12 bouncy mushrooms. Like Sleepy and Fungi Farm, the idea with landing at Dusty Depot is utilizing the natural shields. In this case, it is the bouncy mushrooms. Most, if not of all your metal, will be found within Dusty. The walls, the roof, the floor, all of it gives a lot of metal, and you can have one person sitting right here farming metal for the entire game while the other goes around and loots all of these spots around here, and then they meet back up and you guys hit the geyser to get into zone. This is a pretty good spot. You will have to find your own way to fight at it. The best, in my opinion, would probably be to double up on Dusty and to hit all these mushrooms around here, go to the chair, loot that, and then key wherever the team is. Oftentimes there's a chest spawn or a floor loot spawn right here, so someone might land on that and try to beam you out of the air. And if you're beat at Dusty, you can try, maybe landing over here, or just taking this spot over here or back here as well, because there are a lot of spawns back here as well. So let's move on to the 4th spots. Now we're getting really into the juicy, definitely more than likely will be uncontested spots. In the 4th spot, we have a place called Shrouded Settlements, but it really reminds me of a mix of Stealthy Stronghold and the Joneses. Shrouded Settlements has 28 chest spawns, 57 floor loot spawns, 13 ammo boxes, 9 slurp barrels, and 3 coolers. The primary location is the cabins right here, and then we have another side location over here north, so this like beach type cabins over here, and then south we also have a cabin over here, and then a little dock, and that is really it for the actual kind of entire drop. Now the barrels are mainly all over here, and that's kind of bad because when you're actually going to be dropping here and you're contested, you want to aim for these 4 cabins here because that's where the primary loot is, and then you can split off. So it doesn't really have the same characteristics as Sleepy and the other places with the natural shields because they're not actually near the primary location. So if you're uncontested, you could send one player over here to hit all these barrels, and the other, lands here and loots upwards, or lands like right here and then loots up, or at this one and loots up, whatever. And then you could save some shield, but it isn't as much as the other ones. And the metal is pretty decent, I'd say. These give pretty good metal, and there are a lot of metal options around here that you can farm up, as there are over here as well. Not as much as that one, but there are some over here. And then at the other side, we also have a bit more metal spawns throughout, but you won't really get, 1,000 metal from here. You might have to see if you can hit this gas station as well and farm up this, or if not, maybe go into Jones's and see if you can find any extra scraps of metal. And then the final option of metal is to hit one of these abandoned, like, extra, I don't know what the fuck you would call these towers here that might have a chest, and see if you can cap out your metal there. But it's not 100% for the metal, so you're going to have to really scrap by to find your metal here. And yeah, it's pretty a good spot overall. I mean, I've landed here a lot in arena and tournaments, and I've been mainly uncontested. Now I don't know if that's just because I'm lucky, and if I am contested, I just alpha one of the big buildings, get a gun, and kill them really quickly. So it's overall a pretty good spot. Finally, we're moving to the 3rd place spot where we have Drill Hill. This used to be the fortress, and that was a pretty good spot, but now, similar to the other splits around the map and in this list, to really get a good amount of loot, you do need to actually split up or cover a lot of space to get anywhere near amount of the loot as a POI. So Drill Hill, the entirety of the split includes this spot as the main, the gas station over here, RVs down here, the RVs scattered around here, and then also this is kind of, you can kind of switch it up, but in my opinion it's best to go for these 2 cabins and the metal over here next to Tilted Hill, and then you finish here so you can actually claim these hills for Surge. Now, a lot of people would go up and actually hit the bridge, but personally, I don't like actually doing that because the times that I've done it in tournaments, the team landed here, grabs a lot of loot super quickly, hits it here as well, hits these launch pads and keys the shit out of me. Plus, a lot of teams are coming here for their medal. Like if you remember, Logjam Junction is going to be coming down here for their medal. Shifty might even come down for its medal. A lot of teams nearby need all the medal that this bridge has. So therefore, kind of fighting and looting it is really weird, and everything's kind of weird about it. So I just like to stay away from it. So that's why I loot down instead of up. These are often always unlooted, and if they are looted, it's people rotating through them later in the game. So no one actually claims any of this. So that's why I like going down and actually getting my medal here, even though I should be pretty much capped out. Anyway, so that entire split has 20 chests, 48 floor loot spawns, 22 ammo boxes, a heal and vending machine, 5 slurp barrels, and 9 non-boxes. The medal here is fucking bonkers. Like actually insane. There's so many RVs, there's so many walls around here that give medal. There's the gas station, fences, more RVs down here, and then we also have the 2 towers here that you can use to refarm and base up on if you want to get some surge. So you have to develop a very good loot path here to actually manage to beat all the teams that are trying to rotate here, because you will have to, actually the reality tree can't even fly over anymore, but you should be able to get here before anyone else, base up and find your surge like that. Overall, I think this is actually a ridiculous split, and it makes even better if you actually avoid the bridge. Now you can go back and hit the bridge instead, so that would mean that your split would look something like this, where you hit the bridge as well, and you do kind of have to claim it early. I would say you want to base up probably like right around here early, so you claim like here onwards, like this half the bridge. It'd be hard to claim it all, loot it all, but then claim the rest of it to farm your medal, and then this would be it you can loot with. Now Loot Lake down here you could try to claim as well, but I think it's like this is kind of a 50-50 on who gets it. The team over here could easily say, okay, I'm gonna hit this while I'm over here, quickly loot this and run off and run down here and hit it. But honestly, you might be able to get it because most teams over here actually just run down and hit some of this down here rather than dealing with this over here. But that just really comes from playing and dropping and learning it. But overall, I think this is a fantastic spot that is usually uncontested, because at first glance it doesn't look like it provides a lot of loot and metal and everything, even though it does. In the runner-up position, we have the Loot Lava Station split. Now if you don't know, this place right here is called the Loot Lava Station. You can check that out on Fortnite.gg on the map, and that is what it is called. Now you would land here and is located right outside of Lagoon. The split is often or more than likely uncontested, and the nearby locations take quite a while to loot up. So that's one of the reasons why it's really good, is that there's no other really splits around. Pony is going to loot up. Lagoon has a fuck ton to loot up. We have this split back here, that's going to take a while to loot. And then this split over here has even a longer time to loot, and so does the Sanctum in this spot over here. So you're not going to run into a lot of teams when you're actually looting this, especially if you make sure to loot it quickly. Now it is generally a good location for first and second zone rotates, because wherever zone pulls, you do have a lot of options on what hills you can claim. You might even be able to try to contest this hill over here, but it is a pretty clean rotate. Like it's nothing like too scary. You're in front of a lot of teams and you can get into a good position rather quickly. So let's get into the loot. So the Loot Lava location, or station, sorry, has 27 chests, 81 floor loot spawns, 25 ammo boxes, 3 slurp barrels, 4 non-boxes, and 4 coolers. This place is stacked, like absolutely stacked in terms of floor loot spawn. So that means your ammo and your heals and your weapons in general will be absolutely insane. So you don't really need to worry about the natural healing or the shield process, even though you do have the 3 slurp barrels here. Now in terms of metal, there are a fuck ton of metal, or there is a fuck ton of metal. There's, oh, that truck doesn't spawn here, okay. But there's a shit ton of metal in here. All of these plates, floors, roofs, everything gives metal, and you can find your scrap metal everywhere else. But it's important that you really do claim these 2 spots here. Now a little tip for this spot is that you can actually find chrome slashes throughout here, and then chrome all the chests that you have to give you double loot, which is ridiculously OP. So if you do find chrome splashes, make sure you do use them to give you more loot. Finally, we have the #1 uncontested drop on the entire map. I have been landing at this location since all of last season and all of this season, and I've only been contested once, and I won that one, just as a little note. So I'm 100% off spawn here. This spot is pretty good. I mean, there's loot, you get ammo, you get metal. It's not as crazy as landing at Greasy or a POI, but you'll be uncontested and the rotates are pretty smoothly, and there's nothing really that can go wrong with it. So it really hinges on the fact of that there's 2 locations here that are pretty much not looted. The Synapse team barely ever actually hits the mine shaft over here. It is just too much looting for them to hit all of this and also hit the mine shaft and to farm up and then rift out. And the fact that this location is on edge. And over here is never looted from the Greasy team. The Greasy team has to worry about Greasy, you know, contesting it, everything like that. So you're able to sit here and loot all of this. So before I get into how I loot it and my loot path, let's just go quickly over what it has to offer. This split has 20 chest spawns. It has 52 floor loot spawns, 10 ammo boxes, 5 slurp barrels, and 1 bouncy mushrooms. It is important to note that nearby there are a lot of plain mushrooms that spawn here. Let me see if I can find any. So a lot of just normal blue mushrooms that spawn around here that you can just farm up and you can be absolutely chilling. I don't know where they all are, but I promise you there are some here. There's a spawn here, spawn down here, and spawn over here. Maybe that doesn't show in replay mode. But whatever reason, there are a lot of mushrooms around here that do spawn. So how you actually get your shield is that what I do is that I send my teammate to land right on this chest and I hit this. I sprint, slide, hit this bouncy mushroom, and I go to loot over here. So I get 15 shield. He hits this, jumps on this, and then loots, and then does his loot path. So we both get to use this bouncy mushroom, get 15 shield, and then we usually get about 60 to 70 shield from the actual mushrooms that we're going to eat around here. So then what he does is he goes from here to here, and then he runs down towards the mine shaft and loots the top of it. Meanwhile, I go from here to here to here, run down, hit the dock, go into the shaft, we hit the barrels, and then most importantly we go back here to this building. This building is kind of a 50-50 on if it's hit, and if it is hit, only the chest will actually be taken out of it and the metal here will not be hit. So then we hit here and we look for the Synapse team. Oftentimes they have so much metal that a lot of these spots here aren't actually taken. These give so much metal, it's like 50 to 60 per these. So we just come through, we clean up any of the scraps, and then we hit one of the extra rifts and go to zone. Now, worst case scenario, this is taken. Now, if this is taken, we just loot north because our timing is going to be, we're going to be done so early, we're going to be able to actually loot up most of these hills, like these 2 hills, before any teams get out, because we're done looting this in like 45 seconds. And the metal is really good. There's about 300 here, about 400 down here. I get about 150 from my split, and then we cap out over here and hit the zone, hit the rifts. I know I am leaking my strategy a bit, but I mean, hopefully you guys can test me because I need some free points. Some more free off spawn points, so that's up to you. But overall, I think it's a ridiculous split, and you know, this whole channel is just sharing any of the information I have with you guys so you guys can place better. So hopefully you guys have enjoyed this video. Let me know what you want to see next. The next type of video I'll be doing is everything you need to know to master Chapter 3 Season 4. So these are tips that are directly related to competitive Fortnite. So no zero builds or anything, just competitive build Fortnite. So if that interests you, please keep an eye out for that. And yeah, cheers.